Oi boys, welcome to another video on the channel. We're back with some NRL tips, round 3, and before we get to them, let's take a quick gaze at how we went last week. It was a pretty decent week too in terms of margins and tips overall, going 7 from 8. The bakery, however, is getting next to no business, but yeah, back to the tips. So first of all, let's clap it up for the Raiders, currently sitting at the top of the league 2-0, and they are heading into round 3, riding back-to-back 13 plus dubs.
Oh my god! Wow!
In the Cowboys and Melbourne Storm game, we actually nailed the tip margin and the bakery, or the anytime try scorers, with Kyle Fouts and Ryan Pappenhausen coming in clutch for the boys. So we love that. But yeah, 7 from 8, the game we missed out on. And the more I look at it, the more I think to myself, what in the f was I thinking? The Dolphins' first official home game of the season at KO Stadium, they turn up in a major way, making the Dragons hold a donut. That was crazy. I was super quick to jump on that St. George hype train, and I'm just as quick, if not faster, hopping back off. Cause what the f was that performance? Anyway, we got more bangers lined up for round 3, so let's go and take a look at how these teams line up. Speaking of bangers, we do kick off the round with a grand final rematch. The Panthers take on the Broncos at Bluebet Stadium. A couple of big omissions for the Panthers, with James Fisher-Harris missing with a shoulder injury, getting absolutely steamrolled by Regan Campbell-Gillard last week. I believe in the already injured shoulder has sidelined him. So Lindsay Smith will be named to start with Moses Leota in the front row. Dane Laurie gets a crack in the 14. And Matt Eisenhuth joins their middle rotation. For the Broncos, they're without their skipper Adam Reynolds, so Jock Madden slides straight into that starting 7 role, and there were question marks surrounding Ezra Mam and Payne Haas, and both have been named, but could be subject to change come game day. And for my pick in this match, it pains me to say, but I do have the Penrith Panthers. The biggest worries for me for the Broncos, no Adam Reynolds of course, and a wounded Payne Haas. As a Broncos fan, I do hope I'm wrong, but my head's telling me a Cleary masterclass is potentially on the cards, so we're going to take Cleary for the meat pie, and the Panthers 1-12. Kicking off the Friday doubleheader, we have the Warriors taking on the Raiders, this being played at Apollo Project Stadium in Christchurch. So Egan back for the Warriors, knock on wood, he gets through the full 80 with no hiccups. And for the Raiders, it's the return of their skipper Elliot Whitehead, straight into that starting side, with the hot hand Zach Hosking moving to the interchange. We'll read through it. We got Tom Starling, Emre Gula, Hosking and Saulo. And on the side of the Warriors, we got Freddie Lussick, Tom Ale, Bunty Alfor and Dylan Walker. As for my pickup, we'll be taking the Warriors. I do for a bounce back after winning some pretty close games, and just based off their performances in those games, I do think they can get the job done here on the Raiders. Not expecting anything flashy from the Raiders, although they have been winning 13 plus. It's been off the back of some solid fundamentals, a simplified game plan it seems. In these 2 wins, their completion rates have been up there, 90% in both matches. I just favour the Warriors attack though, so I'm on the Warriors, 13 plus, and I'll take Alan Watene-Zelezniak to cross the white line. And the second game for Friday is the old Sydney Classic. The Chooks host the Bunnies at Allianz Stadium, and there is a plethora of changes on both sides of the field. Starting in the 1-7, both teams have changes to their spine. For the Chooks, Sandon Smith gets promoted from 14 to 6, filling in for Luke Keary, who was sidelined with a concussion, I believe. Let me scroll down here. Yeah, concussion. And for the Bunnies, Jackie Whiten makes his debut in the red and green, and Dean Hawkins gets a run in the 7, with Lockie Ilias being dropped to reserves. We see him there in jersey 19. In the engine room, it's another replacement, with Nat Butcher getting the starts, Siba Wong being dropped to reserves, he's in jersey 22, and for the Bunnies, Davey Moale gets the starts, Sean Kepi back on the bench joining Tallis Duncan, Tom Burgess, Siliva Havili, the usuals, and the bench for the Roosters, Connor Watson in the 14. I actually like that. It's been a minute since we've seen Connor Watson. He joins the bench along with Naufahu White, Terrell May, and Angus Crichton also makes his return. Some interesting changes on both sides. As for my pick in this, I will be staying with the home team in this, the Roosters. Expecting a close game. I don't know about the Bunnies forwards. I'm not set on their middles in particular. It's a coin flip, and I'm going to take my chances with the Roosters. We'll go 1-12, and let me get their captain. Actually, let me get Nat Butcher. Nat Butcher back. A little grubber kick. How you doing? Let's move on. Kicking off Super Saturday, we're going to go through the changes. Let me know if you prefer me just going through changes or reading through the whole lineup. For now though, we're just going to read through changes, starting with the Bulldogs. The lineups will be on screen One change for the Dogs, Liam Knight straight into the starting side. It's a straight swap for Sualii, who was seeing stars last week. Not seeing any other changes. Mann, Hughes, Curran, Moran on the bench. And for the Titans, they welcome back Kieran Foran, who will play his first game of 2024. Keanu Kinney keeps that fullback spot. And Jamin Jolliffe will be starting in the 13 with Isaac Liu coming off the bench. As for my pick, it's another coin toss between these two bottom feeders. Still on the hunt for their first wins of the season. I'm inclined to take the Bulldogs in Balmore. I do like that. And the Bulldogs have actually shown glimpses of decent footy in their first 2 matches. Not too confident, but I'm on them. And I'll take Blake Wilson for a meat pie. The second game for Super Saturday, the Dragons host the Cowboys, and there are a couple of changes for the home side. Frankie Molo out, Jacob Little out. So starting in the front row for Molo is Jack DeBellin, and for Little it's going to be Jesse Marshke who gets the start, with Connor Malizan coming off the bench in the 14. They also have Viliame Fifita. He gets promoted from 18th man to a bench spot. And for the Cows, the obvious one, Harlem Lukey, is expected to be out for 5 to 8 weeks. His replacement is Kuligefu Finefuyaki. Their impact off the bench gets the starting gig, and taking his spot on the bench will be Jack Gojewski. As for my pick, look, give me the Cowboys. Like I said, I'm off the Dragons. I do expect them to bounce back though, with a much better performance, at least get on the board. I just like the Cows at the moment. I think they win the battle through the middle, and I'll take, let me get Val Holmes for a meat pie. That's Cowboys 1 to 12. And for the final game in our Super Saturday fixtures, we have the West Tigers at Leichhardt Oval taking on the Cronulla Sharks. Bit of a toughie for the Tigers here. In terms of changes, there's one to the back 5 of the Tigers with Stafford Dotter. Set to miss 8 weeks, it says here. The good news is Justin Olam slides back into that starting side, and they're actually keeping the rookie Solomona Fa'ata'ape in the centres, with both Asuka Power in the 18 and also Brent Naden in the 22. So they could be late inclusions. As for the other changes, it's a little bit of a shift, with veteran Aiden Caesar getting the starts. Low key, I thought this should have been the go in round 1, or round 2, sorry. Pairing the veteran with the rookie. So that's the go for round 3. We've got Lockie Galvin and Aiden Caesar, and coming off the pine, Bud Sullivan. For the Sharkies, as we all know, Nikora has been suspended, so Jack Williams, he gets that back row spot. Royce Hunt makes his return after being absent last week due to an illness, and Billy Burns joins the interchange. As for my pick in this one, it is hard to look past the Sharks, so we will take the Sharks on the road. The Tigers just looked a little off, and it was to be expected with their new halves pairing. It was only their first match of the season. In the head-to-head, they've actually got the wood over the Sharks, winning 18 to the Sharks 17, but previously, the Sharks have whooped them both 36 to 12 last season and the season before. Do we see that same trend? I'd say so. We'll take the Sharkies 13 plus. And let me get a beefer. Once again, give me big Tom Hazelton off the pine for a meat pie. The first game of the Sunday sesh sees the Parramatta Eels host the Manly-Warringah Sea Eagles at the one and only CommBank Stadium. In terms of changes, there's a couple to the Eels. Morgan Harper jumps onto the wing for Bailey Simonson, and they have a player making their debut, Blaze Talangi. He starts in the centres, with Luca Moretti joining the bench for Brendan Hands, who got, I don't know what he's doing with the bench, Brad Arthur, but he has dropped Hands altogether. Little side note here, this is RCG's 200th NRL appearance, so clap it up for Reg. For the Sea Eagles, Tommy Talau drops out of the side, with Raymond Tuaimalo-Vainga gets his first run of the season. There were whispers of Josh Schuster possibly getting a run, but apparently he was struggling in reserve grade, so he's still a ways away from breaking into the 17. As for my pick, tough one to choose actually, even though Eels lost last week. I do think they looked good, but I want to stick with the Sea Eagles and their momentum. Brooks is looking confident out there, and their forward pack has actually been pretty solid as well as their defense. So we're going to stick with Manly and their momentum, and we'll take them in a close one, 1 to 12 points. And Turbo, surely Turbo gets one for the boys. And in the final game of the round, we have the Newcastle Knights hosting the Melbourne Storm. Some interesting changes to the Knights. Jack Cogger gets the 7. Jackson Hastings isn't injured or anything, he just got dropped to reserve grade. They will also see their co-captain make his return. Jaden Brayley will be coming off the bench. And Inari Tuala, he jumps onto the left wing for Greg Marzou, who will be out for 4 to 6 weeks. For the Storm, adding to the list of huge outs in Cam Munster and Big Nelson, Jahrome Hughes has been suspended, so Tyron Wishart moves into the number 7 and Kane Bradley joins the bench. Another player joining the bench is Tepai Moiroa for Christian Welsh, who failed a head injury assessment last week. As for my pick, a Cameron Munster and Jahrome Hughes-less Melbourne Storm, I think I'll be staying away from. When it comes to the Knights, I was high on the Knights, thinking they'd start hot this season, carrying that momentum over from last year, but they've been pretty awful. It seems as though KP's gone back into his shell. I'm not going to be overly critical because it is only round 3, but let's just say I'll take them to get the win here at home. Hughes is a massive out in my opinion. They could usually jag games with just him in the halves, but yeah, I don't like their chances with a young halves pairing, so I'm on Newcastle. Not confident at all in the pick, especially without Mazu to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I will take them in a close one, 1 to 12 points, and for a meat pie, the final of the round, let me get a piece of Kalyn Ponga. That's about it. That's my tips for round 3. As always, if you have any tips and predictions of your own, let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed that, be sure to run and hit that like button. And for more rugby league related content and more content in general, go ahead and drop your boy a cheeky sub. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.